So what we are doing is a little short news segment to kind of break up some of the reality TV. So I'm going to read off a story that I find on either Reddit or Quora or Tumblr or any other forums where people post anonymously their stories and try to get advice or an opinion on what they're going through or something that they've seen or are dealing with or just anything really. And I'm going to read these stories to Brooke and a guest or anybody that we have here just as a short, quick thing that anybody can participate in. It's just fun. You give your opinion and we're just kind of going with it. We don't know who these people are, but we do hope the best for everybody. That story that we do read, that's for sure. But I will be reading these stories and Brooke will be reacting to them. Just a first blind reaction. She does not know what the story is other than the title. She doesn't know what it entails, but just a nice little reaction. This one is a little bit long, but it starts off with the title, "My 23 female boyfriend, 24 male, didn't want to pay $200 to save my life." And this is from Reddit Relationship Advice, and it was posted 12 days ago. So it says, "I was at the bar with my boyfriend and his friends a while ago. We had a great time, dancing on tables, singing and drinking. I remember feeling totally fine one second, and the next I got very unsteady, and I lost connection with my body. I got confused and scared, but I was just so calm. It was all types of weird. This is seconds here and there I remember. Most things that happened doesn't exist in my memory. I became unconscious, and according to my boyfriend, the few times I opened my eyes, they looked very scared. He was told to get a taxi and to get me to the emergency room fast. He managed to get me into the taxi, and it started to drive. My boyfriend told me that during the drive, the driver told him that he would have to pay $200 extra if I threw up. Then my boyfriend said, no, stopped the driver, and wanted to walk to the emergency room. I was still unconscious, and he didn't know why or if my life was at risk. Luckily for him, the police were driving around and saw me laying on the ground. They asked him what's up and drove us to the emergency room with the blue lights on and fast. They took it very seriously. Without them, my boyfriend would have been lucky to even get me to the emergency room at all. Turns out I got drugged that night. It got worse as he forced me to walk with shaky legs from the emergency room the day after. A walk that should have taken 20 minutes took me 2 hours. Even started talking about the fact that he could have gotten drugged too, and that maybe he got a little drugged, ? Even though he didn't feel weird at all that night. I guess she was suspicious. But then he started to talk about him paying the taxi $40 for the little drive and how much that was. Like he wanted me to pay him back or something. He constantly stated that it was $40 and how sick that was. It's the normal price around here. He looked up symptoms related to me being drugged and found that long-term symptoms would mostly be trauma. The next weekend, I had to be with his friends again and the same people I didn't know. They talked about it that night and even made a joke a little about me being drugged. Not a lot, but I still felt awful. He also ignored me once when I said someone was following me. He was never scared of letting me walk around at town at night, but if a female friend did it, then he would have to follow her. He argues when I'm scared instead of making me feel better or protecting me. Other than that, he's a kind man, but this cannot be normal. Is this relationship worth it? I'm scared I'm overreacting, but keep in mind that most of this is told from his perspective, as I don't remember that night." Thoughts?
Jeez. I mean, my gut thing is no, just don't be with this guy. He sounds, if you say he's a great guy, that's great. He can be great for someone else, but he doesn't sound like he puts this girl as a priority, at least based on her perspective. But then hearing that very last part where she says she doesn't actually have any memory of that night, it's very well possible that he could have been drugged too, and he could be a bigger guy than her. He could have been drugged less than her, but It's possible he could have been pretty messed up himself and not making the right decisions. So I don't know. I mean, he could have been drugged, she could have been drugged. I can't really say for sure. But I mean, the whole like repeating how much money it was for the taxi and all that stuff. I'm like, I don't know. I guess it all depends on how long they were dating. Like, I would never expect Tyler to ask for that kind of money for a taxi, but we've been together for a really long time. But if I was dating someone for a couple of months,
Well,
I don't know.
And also the $200 part, it was the threat of her throwing up. Like, you didn't know if she was going to throw up.
Well, to me, like, I just feel like that taxi driver's for that. Like,
yeah,
that's not. I could totally see Tyler being really upset at somebody being like taking advantage of like, I just got this person in your taxi and they're sick and we need to go to the hospital and you're going to charge me an extra $200. I could see him getting out of his cab at that point too, just because he's petty.
Like, I couldn't imagine Dean though making me walk to the hospital.
No,
like,
at that point, you're like, you just yell at that man and you're like, wow, like you're taking advantage of a terrible situation. And then you try not to throw up in the car instead of. And why was she walking after the ER visit? Where was she going then? Like to their car or whatever? Like call another cab or your family or somebody else besides this man who's proven to not be making the right decisions for whatever reason.
And what was also wild to me is that, so he's the only one who remembers all this and he's recounting the story and he's making himself look horrible. Like, why didn't he make himself look a little better? Like,
well, maybe he's honest. I don't know, but you're right. Yeah, if it's all coming from his perspective, then I mean, he's definitely not. Gosh, maybe worse things did happen. I don't know.
I'm floored.
I think my reaction to this like really all boils down to like, regardless of why or for what reason, this man was making incredibly poor decisions and this girl was affected by it. So I would be upset. I mean, if this is a pattern, I would definitely not want to be with someone who makes poor decisions and could possibly put your life at risk because of it.
If the question is if she's overreacting and if this is normal, no, it's not normal, and no, you're not overreacting. If you feel something is up, it's probably up. Like, if it feels like this guy's got some weird intentions, like, he probably does. If it seems like he's not that protective of you and you want something that's more protective of you, then go seek that out, because like, you don't really want this to keep happening to you or something worse to happen to you. It's so unfortunate that this happened to you because it is scary, and then you lose that trust in going out and like, you know. But definitely always get your drink yourself from the bartender. I've always been told that my whole life, like, never accept a drink from somebody, just like go get it yourself, take the top off yourself, you know, like if it's a beer, like make sure you're cracking it open, you know, just to be very aware of your surroundings, especially this day and age. People are scary.
It's not uncommon for people to get drugged these days. I mean, it definitely happens, and it doesn't just happen to women. It's really possible that it happened to both of them, especially if somebody knows that she was there with another man. That's exactly what they do. They drug the man too, so he's not in the right state of mind. I mean, that's kind of the perfect opportunity at that point. He's making a poor choice, right, to get out of this cab because she's sick, and then like they both could have been really in some danger. So yeah, it happens to men too. It's not just women. So if he's saying that he didn't feel right that night either, he might not have been like completely, you know, not able to walk like she was. But
that is a valid point. So we do have a couple edits. Okay, so she has 3 edits. So her first edit is, I forgot to say that
dated. Like, do we know how long it's been since
well, she posted this 12 days ago, so the edits aren't dated, but I'm assuming it's still within the last like day or two later, like maybe it was even the same day. But she made 3 separate edits, so I'm guessing they're like a couple days in between each other. So the first edit she says is, I forgot to say that I asked him what he would have done differently if this happened today, and paying the taxi was not on the list.
The cab to me is, I get it, but like I feel like she's kind of hung up on the wrong things here. Like there's something went down here, and the cab is like the least. Absolutely.
I wouldn't expect anything from him from that, just because he kept bringing up the cost anyway. So obviously
this man clearly is upset about the cab, and really the cab part it's kind of irrelevant. I don't know. At least the money part of it, like.
So her second edit says, I said it in the comments, but it's difficult to even see it at this point. I just have to say that he did call for an ambulance, but they didn't come. So, according to him, it was one of the first things he did, but he told them I was conscious, and so they didn't feel the need to come. An ambulance is basically free here, meaning it would have saved him some money. He would have no reason to not call. Some people also said that I should have paid him back for the taxi, and I agree based on the information I gave you, but I was the one that paid for drinks that night, and I spent a lot more than $40 on him. In total, I spent
This is why she's mad about it. She woke up from a night of being drugged and her card is declining. This is why she's mad about the taxi. She just wants to get paid back or she doesn't want to have to pay for that taxi. And I think he keeps implying that he wants to get paid back.
Because in total, I spent $176 to be exact. Yeah, I think though when you're sick though, like, I don't know, I can't get over the fact that if you are literally passed out, somebody's got to get you to the hospital somehow. So just pay the $40, do the taxi. If she paid for drinks all night, get her to the hospital. Hope she don't throw up. If she does throw up, then tell the taxi to bill her later. Like, I don't know.
Something.
There's got to be something.
I don't know this man's financial situation. Like, if she's going out and already buying all the drinks anyways, like, this man clearly ain't rich. Like, I don't know any man who has money who's gonna let a girl go buy almost $200 worth of drinks and not pay anything for it. So obviously this guy's not in like good financial situation. But
if you are any concerned about somebody not prioritizing your health and safety, then maybe that's a red flag, and that's something you need to like explore either in therapy with that person if you have been together for a long time, or like, you know, if this is a new relationship, just a conversation and, you know, to really get a gauge. And if you don't feel right, then just get out of it, because you're young, you will rebound, you will find somebody who is right for you. And if his friends are drugging you too, because like, who knows who's doing it, if this is some weird friend thing, if this is, I don't know what kind of bar you're at, but you know, maybe this is not the right kind of people to be around if other people aren't helping you. Like, hey, I'll drive her, like the one sober person that might be there, you know what I mean? So I don't know what the situation
and I almost take it back a little bit. I mean, he still is making poor choices, but it sounds like he called an ambulance right away.
Yeah.
I don't know why she brings up that the ambulance would have been free. That's not a bad thing. Like, you're getting immediately into medical care and they're going to take you to the hospital. So I feel like he actually seems like he did take at least one appropriate step to try to get her to be safe. And it's not like, I would never lie. Like, if they're asking me, is this person conscious? I would not just say no to get them there faster if they were conscious. And she was conscious by the time they even got in the taxi. It was after the taxi, it sounded like, that she wasn't too conscious.
So in the comments, because I'm gonna read the comments before I read the last edit. In like the top comment, basically, which it seems like she's getting validation from, it says, well, now you know you're worth to him something less than $200. If you think you are worth more, you know what to do.
Now, the other thing we have to acknowledge again, like, if this guy doesn't have a lot of money, then $200 might be a lot to him. So it also like all about perspective. Again, like, you got to also have your perspective. If $200 is a lot to this guy and he can't afford it for you, then you make some choices about that. Like, there are other people in the world who can afford that.
Most people are saying the relationship isn't worth it. I think it's kind of a wash. I think at this point it's kind of tainted anyways with this whole situation. I think she's already feeling away, and you know, I mean, if you don't feel safe, you don't feel safe. She also brought up she thinks that when she's in the city and stuff, he doesn't mind if she's alone and walking around in the city. And if a friend of his that's a female he's got to follow her. I mean, if you already feel like all these things,
noticing things she doesn't like, she's taking the time to go talk to people online about it. If you've been together less than a year, like, just walk away. So like, not a big deal. You know, maybe have some conversations about it and see if this happens again. But I mean, when it comes to safety, like, if you don't feel safe around this guy and you don't think you're going to be able to like go out with him and feel comfortable, then there's millions of people in the world. You can go have a new experience, hopefully a better one.
So the third edit and final edit, she just wants to say thank you for everybody for the feedback. She says it feels both awful and good having her feelings validated. In a way, I wanted you guys to tell me that I was overreacting and that he really tried his best. Seeing that you also find the situation a little effed up means that makes me feel less crazy though. And yeah, I'll dump him. I think it will be the best thing for both of us. Although I kind of agree with the outcome just because obviously
I
the
do
safety.
too.
I do agree with the outcome.
Yeah, I think the taxi thing, it was alarming enough that if it's a short relationship, yeah, you just like move on. Like,
Yeah.
it's not something that I think has to end a relationship, especially longer term relationship, if there's not a pattern of this happening. But yeah, I mean,
it's sometimes it's just a wash. Like, yeah, you were in this relationship and it was probably fun for a minute, but then something kind of messed up happened and that's it. Kind of happened.
and girl, you don't need to spend the rest of your life spending $200 a night on a bar tab. You know, I definitely support if she's going to break up with him, because she was willing to spend just about $200 on drinks that night so they could have a fun night, and he was not willing to spend that. Ultimately, get her to a hospital when she clearly needed to go to a hospital. So, I mean, that is kind of what it boils down to in the end. So, yeah, if she broke up with him, I think she made the right choice.
I agree. I think that the outcome is what should happen, and I really hope that she finds somebody that she feels safe with. If she is in a medical emergency, is going to do what they can to get her help and doesn't make her feel bad about it later and bring it up and make a big thing about it. You know, it's just so weird. Right. She didn't remember anything. You could have made yourself look a lot better, but you know, whatever. I guess the truth sets you free. So
truly.
So I'm glad that, you know, they didn't manipulate the situation, because then she could have stayed in a relationship longer that doesn't serve her. We'll end it on that.